June 28, 1992 changed one town's fate with the biggest earthquake in the United States in 40 years. The Landers, California earthquake measured 7.5 on the Richter scale, and aftershocks are expected to continue for at least 100 years. One person was killed, and more than 350 others were injured. The sleeping, sparsely populated desert town was then faced with a $16 million bill in damages. On January 17, 1994, a 6.6 earthquake devastated Northridge and many other Los Angeles-based communities. This quake resulted in 57 deaths, more than 7,500 injuries, and at least 4,322 buildings and 14,576 residential dwellings were then declared uninhabitable throughout the city of Los Angeles. Some of the world's largest freeway structures collapsed, leaving Los Angeles and its residents almost completely isolated. Thousands of people were forced to live in tent cities, and at least 95,000 customers lost their gas and electric services. Over 65,000 children had to be relocated to other campuses until their own schools were repaired and reopened. Since then, seismologists have warned us that the big one has a 50-50 chance of occurring within the next 25 years. The Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, has concluded that the big one will be the worst disaster in the United States since the Civil War. California is not the only earthquake-prone area either. An estimated 44 of our 51 states are now considered to be earthquake-prone. In fact, most parts of the world produce earthquake activity, and it can happen anytime, with no hint or warning, just as it did in both Landers and Los Angeles, California. As the Northridge earthquake demonstrated, damage from a major earthquake is widespread, devastating to industry, to our complex roadways, and to some large public buildings. When the great earthquake strikes Southern California, it could shatter freeways, pipelines, electrical lines, and buildings all around. Power stations, water plants, and sewage treatment plants could shut down. Major fires would be inevitable, and firefighters in many cases might not have water to fight them. Police, fire, utilities, and emergency medical services would all be swamped as well. Cities and counties that normally help each other in an emergency might be too busy dealing with their own problems to provide mutual aid. It could take days or weeks in many areas to restore normal services like electricity, gas, water, or telephones. It would be difficult to travel anywhere for weeks afterward. Face it, you will be on your own. Are you prepared for an emergency? For the big one? We prepare for all kinds of potential emergencies such as fire, floods, property damage, and business losses and injuries. Any of these may or may not happen in our lifetime. So doesn't it make sense to prepare for the earthquake which scientists say will occur? Now is the time to prepare. This program is called Emergency Preparedness in the Workplace, and it will save lives and prevent injuries if the steps within the program are followed. The life you save may be your own or of a coworker and could mean the difference between continuing business after a disaster or being unemployed for months waiting for the workplace to continue business. The most crucial element in surviving any type of natural disaster is preparing for the emergency. This program will instruct you in life safety and life-sustaining actions before, during, and following an earthquake or any other type of disaster. Let's begin with safety measures during the earthquake. Remember, these safety measures can be applied to other types of disasters as well. If you're indoors, stay there. During the Long Beach Compton quake of 1933, most casualties were caused by people panicking, that is, running out of buildings and homes, and being hit by falling debris from windows, tall shelves, and other objects. Get under a sturdy table or desk, or brace yourself in a doorway or corner. Stay clear of bookshelves, windows, storage racks, heavy mirrors, light fixtures, operating machinery, ducting, and other heavy objects. Watch out for falling plaster and pieces of ceiling. Everyday equipment such as computers, copy machines, forklifts, trucks, trailers, or any other type of equipment your place of work utilizes can be thrown around, causing substantial injury and property damage if not secured properly. In any emergency, people are the #1 priority. Prior to an emergency, there are numerous ways to protect yourself and other employees, as well as protecting vital machinery, equipment, and products. Training is the primary tool and will produce amazing results in the event of an emergency. Emergency response procedures including pre-emergency drills, knowledge of exits, use and knowledge of fire suppression equipment are only a few of the benefits of training. Heavy shelving and storage racks securely fastened to the floor and with studs in the wall can save countless lives. Securing machinery to the floor can prevent tip-overs and lateral movement, thus reducing injuries and protecting the equipment. One of the most simple yet effective methods of protecting yourself in the event of an earthquake or other disaster is duck, cover, and hold. Duck under a strong table or other protection. Cover your head with your hands or other object, and hold this position until it's safe to come out. This method is taught to school children and certainly applies to the workplace. Don't forget the basics in the event of an emergency. Duck, cover, and hold. After an earthquake, always expect aftershocks, and after tornadoes, expect more tornadoes in the area. Move around carefully. Use extreme caution when entering or exiting damaged buildings. Aftershocks can be strong enough to collapse buildings that were weakened in the original quake. Immediately check for injuries and trapped persons, but never move seriously injured persons unless they are in immediate danger of further injury. Immediately check for fires. Remember, in 1906, the city of San Francisco was almost destroyed by fire, not the earthquake. Fires start from broken gas lines and appliance connections. It's best to use flexible connectors if possible. Use a flashlight when searching for gas leaks or fire hazards. Do not use a lighted match. Do not use electrical switches or appliances if gas leaks are suspected, because sparks can ignite gas from broken lines. If you smell gas or see a broken line, shut off the main valve. Never touch downed power lines or objects in contact with downed power lines. Don't use your telephone except for emergency calls. Check water supplies. If water is off, use emergency water obtained from water heaters, toilet tanks, if disinfectant chemicals haven't been added, melted ice cubes, and canned fruits and vegetables. Turn on a battery-operated radio for damage reports and information. Do not use your vehicle unless there is an emergency. Use outdoor barbecues, hibachis, and camping stoves for cooking. Before an earthquake, learn how to shut off gas. The main shutoff valve is located next to your meter on the inlet pipe. Use a wrench and give it a quarter turn in either direction so that it runs crosswise to the pipe. And do so only in an emergency. Teach members of your employee emergency response team and other key employees how to turn off electricity, gas, and water at main switch and valves. The main water shutoff valve is found in a concrete box on your sidewalk. Home emergency supplies include bottled water, first aid kit, and book, non-perishable food, can opener, non-electric, blankets, sleeping bags, radio, battery-operated, spare batteries, essential medication, fire extinguisher, ABC type, flares, flashlight, sanitation, cooking, and tool supplies. Tools such as crowbars, hammers, and other materials may be needed to help trapped victims. Anchoring furniture and equipment securely to floors and walls works. In the 1989 San Francisco earthquake, water heaters strapped with plumber's tape remained standing in buildings whose chimneys, antennas, and large pieces of furniture fell. Secure cabinet items with beeswax, Velcro, wire brackets, or double-sided foam tape. Place large and heavy objects on lower shelves. Securely fasten shelves to walls. Remove all flammable liquids such as paint and cleaning products to outside storage areas. And always store these items in proper containers. One major problem that can arise in the event of a disaster is isolation. Families may be separated for a week or longer. The father at work in one location, the mother at work at another location or home, and children at school. Communications will be impossible. Those at work who are not injured will have the responsibility of caring for those that are injured and resurrecting the business with the goal of getting back to business as usual. After an earthquake, there are periods of aftershocks that may reach or exceed the magnitude of the original tremor. The picture may look like this: collapsed building, sporadic fires, crumbled freeways, torn up surface streets, contaminated water, disrupted electric, gas, and phone services. There may be an absence of emergency services such as police, fire, paramedics, and hospitals due to overload or inability to navigate on surface streets. Hospitals and emergency services may also be heavily damaged and unable to function. This bleak picture shows rather graphically that business and industry will, for the most part, be left to their own devices. Those companies that train, stock up on supplies, and prepare will generally suffer far fewer casualties and, of course, get back to business much quicker. The company that has the foresight to acquire emergency generators or multi-fuel equipment and fuel will have a definite head start in post-emergency recovery. Employee training, education, and preparedness will help reduce loss of life, injury, and business interruption. An important part of preparing for an emergency is to teach everyone in the family about earthquake and fires and what to do if an emergency arises. Practice fire and earthquake drills to make sure all employees know what to do. Preparing for emergencies does save lives. It should be a commitment to each and every person. Learn, practice, and be ready. An emergency may or may not occur, but with your action, this emergency preparedness program will function properly, saving perhaps your life or the life of another. Thank you.